call the cops.
You got a flat. I'm just trying to help. What was that?
Nothing. It's nothing.
Kid, there's someone in that trunk.
Please, just don't.
A white sedan shivered on the shoulder at 11:03 p.m. hazards, blinking like a heartbeat running out of time. And I had to choose between pretending I never saw it or stepping into a night that might change me. I would learn in a different life that hesitation has a body count. So when I heard the softest sound from that trunk, something between a hiccup and a whimper, I knew this was not just a flat tire. My name is Eli, 65, Army veteran, part-time mechanic, full-time insomniac since '86. I know the smell of cold asphalt, the attention a flashing triangle draws, and the way fear makes hands shake even when the mouth says, I am fine. That shoulder of Highway 17 was a thin line between two worlds, and I parked right on the seam. She was maybe 16, a baseball cap pulled low, a tire iron gripped like a lifeline. Back up, she called, chin raised, voice wobbling, even as she tried to make it iron. I have got spray. I kept my palms open and visible, the way I taught kids at the church safety night. Name's Eli, I said, staying a good 20 feet away. Army, retired. I can change that tire, or I can call roadside. Your call. Her eyes kept bumping to the trunk like a needle stuck in the same groove. The iron trembled, then steadied, then trembled again. No police, she said, voice small but absolute, like a rule taught by hard experience. I nodded, slow, like easing a skittish colt. If somebody's in trouble, we will do this right and safe. We will get help that keeps you breathing and keeps you believed. The wind tugged at my jacket, and the hazards blinked on, blinked off, counting choices. Please, she whispered, and I heard the years in that plea. Then the sound from the trunk came again, a muffled little squeak that did not belong to a tire. Her face broke the way a dam breaks, not all at once, but enough to send water across the road. She told me her name was June, 16 last week, driving since 2:30 that morning with 3 little siblings and exactly $71 in a cracked wallet. She said some things you do not need repeated to understand. She said her grandmother was waiting in a town 5 hours north and would keep them safe. I asked if I could get the little ones out for air. June nodded, like permission weighed as much as an anvil. I stood back while she turned the key, and the trunk lifted on tired struts, and 3 small heads peered out as if light might bite. There was a boy clutching a threadbare dinosaur, another boy with sleep in his eyes and a brave chin, and a girl who nested against June's hip as if she would fuse there. Pajamas, sneakers without socks, cheeks tracked with salt, none of it graphic, all of it loud. We can't stay here, I said, keeping my voice even. This shoulder makes you a lighthouse for the wrong boat. The spare was a memory, the sidewall shredded like confetti, and the nearest station had closed at 9. I called Cal first, an old medic who still kept blankets and juice boxes in his trunk like talismans. Then Rosa, who volunteers nights at the Family Resource Center and knows which doors actually answer after midnight. Then Mo, who does paperwork like a general, plots logistics, and Trent, who used to be a deputy and understands the difference between report and safe handoff. June bit her lip when I said I was calling people. No police, she reminded, and her fingers pressed into her sister's shoulders, making a small crest. We will keep you in control, I said, meaning it, breath first, safety second. Then we invite the right grown-ups to the right table. It was not a slogan, but it might as well have been one. We left the broken sedan exactly where it sat, hazards still blinking for anyone who needed a warning not to stop. June set her phone to airplane mode and slid it under the passenger seat like it was too heavy to carry. Cal rolled up in 10 minutes, blankets and protein bars, and that calm that says, "I have been here, and we are going to walk out standing." The kids ate like hunger was a quiet friend they knew by first name. I watched their eyes, the way they flinched at nothing, and listened to everything. June kept searching my face for the crack where cruelty might be hiding, and I kept meeting her gaze with nothing sharp. Rosa reached the director on duty at the resource center, who woke a caseworker and a volunteer advocate, and routed us to a campus where the night lights stay on. No need for addresses here. The right people knew the place and the hour. Trent texted the sergeant on the night desk, someone steady, to meet us there for a statement once the kids were indoors. We moved as a small convoy, 2 vehicles and 3 adults who've seen grief blink and still kept steering. June climbed into Cal's car with Rosie on her lap, and I followed behind, watching headlights pour in thin rivers across the blacktop. The road did not know our names, but it felt like it made space. I have got opinions, like anyone who watches the news until the anchors start repeating themselves. I think our systems are full of good people who run into bad hours with not enough hands. I think rural nights get long and kids learn to read grown-ups the way sailors read weather. June stayed awake by the hum of the tires, talking in small pieces, floating details like leaves in a current. She did not ask for advice, so I did not give any. She asked if I believed her, and I said yes in a way that left no splinters. We pulled into the campus just as a tired moon elbowed out of a cloud. The lobby glowed a soft yellow, the kind of light that forgives. A caseworker held the door, a deputy stood gently to one side, and a woman with a cardigan and kind eyes waited with a clipboard that looked less like a weapon and more like a map. Then the door opened again, and a grandmother in slippers crossed a tile floor as if she would run 1,000 yards. The little boy with the dinosaur hit her first, then the other one, then the girl, then June, all arms and breath and sound. None of it polished, all of it pure. I waited near the wall with Cal, old men orbiting joy, trying not to blink too much. The deputy looked at the ceiling one long second, then back down, hands folded, posture gentle. He nodded to me just once, and I nodded back. A conversation without words. Inside a small office, the caseworker did what caseworkers do, which is turn human mess into an order of operations. She asked June questions with a softness that did not erase steel. The deputy made notes with the care you save for names that matter. Rosa fetched water in cups that warmed small hands. I signed my name where a witness signs and let June close the pen. Trent handled a few calls in the hallway, where linoleum made footsteps sound honest. No one raised a voice. No one said, "Why did not you call sooner?" The point was not to judge the river after it already carried everyone here. By 4:30, the kids had clean t-shirts and a room with blankets that still smelled like laundry soap. By 5, the deputy had scheduled a morning appointment for statements with a detective who knows kids do not lie well unless the truth is heavier. The caseworker arranged a temporary stay with Grandma while the paperwork machine turned its slow gears. June asked me if we were done, and I told her we would begun. She asked if I would leave, and I told her I would stand in the hallway until the sun finished climbing. The hallway smelled like coffee and dust and, somehow, relief. When morning breaks in places like this, it comes through Venetian blinds in neat stripes, as though light itself loves rules. The lobby filled with the soft thrum of a building waking up. The boys discovered a puzzle missing 3 pieces, but finished it anyway. Rosie finally laughed, the kind that bobbles out like a new balloon. Grandma squeezed my hand, as if she could transfer part of her gratitude like a charge. "You stopped," she said, almost confused by the simplicity. Lots of folks drive by at night. I wanted to tell her about 3A.M. on a different road, where I learned that the line between my business and none of my business is dangerously thin. Instead, I said, "You were waiting. That matters more." June tugged my sleeve and took me to a bulletin board covered with construction paper leaves. "Write a wish," a sign said, in marker trying not to squeak. June wrote, "That nobody drives past," and handed me the pen with a half smile that knew it asked a lot. We had a last round with the caseworker, who gave everyone a plan in bullet points that fit into a purse. The deputy walked us to the door with a nod that felt like a shield. Cal jingled his keys and said he would be available, and Rosa gave Grandma her number with the kind of eye contact that tells you the phone will be answered. "Will you?" June started, then stopped, and bit the inside of her cheek the way kids do when words are expensive. "Will you keep an eye out at night?" I thought about how empty midnight looks until you know where to look. I thought about veterans who carry enough ghosts to recognize another shape in the dark. "We will start something," I said. "A night watch, maybe. Nothing official, just eyes, phones, and the common sense not to make a bad night worse." That evening, I called 5 friends whose bones ache in rain and whose hearts beat louder when someone says help. We printed cards with hotline numbers and wrote, "If it is dangerous, call 911 inches big letters." We logged stretches of road that go quiet after 10 and marked gas stations that still serve warm coffee to cold hands. 3 weeks later, I saw that white sedan again in the center's parking lot. Clean now, a little less haunted. June trotted over with a learner's permit she held like a medal. The boys argued in the back seat about who was faster, and Rosie pressed a crumpled drawing into my palm. It was a stick figure wearing a cap with a little patch on it, standing next to 4 smaller stick figures under a grin of a moon. At the top, in letters that bumped into each other from excitement, she had written, "Thank you for stopping. We do not win every night. Some calls ring through to voicemail because people get tired, and sometimes the system trips on its own shoelaces. But I believe in a thing you can't hold, which is that strangers can decide they are neighbors, and neighbors can decide they are responsible." If you are watching this on a screen with the comments open and the autoplay impatient, here's the part I want to sit inside your pocket. If you see someone who looks terrified on the shoulder after dark, roll the window down far enough for your voice and ask if they want you to call for help. If they say yes, call. If they say no, respect that and offer numbers. If you are trained, step in. If not, be the bridge. June says the worst part of that night was not the fear, it was feeling invisible to headlights. I can't fix a whole country, but I can refuse invisibility within the reach of my headlights. That is a politics I can live with. The kind that starts with names and ends with hands not letting go. When people ask why I pulled over, I could say, habit or training or the way a trunk can suddenly sound like a nursery. The truth is smaller and bigger. I stopped because somebody's child was standing in the dark with a tool she should not have needed to hold, and she looked toward a stranger and hoped. If that hope ever points at you, I hope you are the person who answers. Not with perfection, not with swagger, just with the steady, ordinary courage of staying. The rest, most nights, is paperwork and patience and a sunrise through blinds, and it is enough. And if you are the one in the dark, hear me clearly. You matter. You are not invisible. There are more of us on the road than you think, and we are watching for your hand to lift